No.
No,
Quiet,
Barry.
jackass.
I never said you were too
yes,
fat.
you
I said
did.
you were too ugly.
Okay, shut up. This is gonna be awesome.
Bro, there is no way you can pull this off.
I was sheriff of this county when I was 25 years old. Hard to believe. My grandfather was a lawman. Father, too. Me and him was sheriffs at the same time. Him up in Plano and me out here. I think he was pretty proud of that. I know I was. But, damn it, Ellis. You're ruining my willful suspension of disbelief. Get it right.
Bro, stop trying to be Tommy Lee Jones. You're not even healthy enough to play an Alabama peace officer, let alone a West Texas sheriff. You look like the last man standing at a pancake eating contest for divorced dads.
Hey, piss off. This is my moment. You can't help but compare yourself against the old-timers. Can't help but wonder how they'd have operated in these times. The crime you see now, it's hard to even take its measure. It's not that I'm afraid of it, but I don't want to push my chips forward and go out and meet something I don't understand. A man would have to put his soul at hazard. He'd have to say, okay, I'll be part of this world.
All right, folks. Unless your brain is as smooth as the top of Barry's head, you probably already guessed we're analyzing 2007's No Country for Old Men, which was directed by the Coen brothers, who might be Barry's favorite living directors. The screenplay is based on a novel by the late Cormac McCarthy, who also happens to be one of Barry's all-time favorites. In other words, you can expect Barry to be especially insufferable throughout this episode. Yo, Fudge Cassidy, what's up with the 1980s briefcase sitting on our couch?
Brr, I don't know, but I'm not touching it.
Yeah, but what do you think is inside?
I told you I'm not opening it.
Oh, you will open it, Barry. We all know you can't handle an unsolved mystery. Hey, did you hear that? Forget it. Let's start by introducing No Country for Old Men's main characters.
In order to understand the sheriff, played by Tommy Lee Jones, we have to first consider the movie's title, which alludes to a poem by Irish author William Butler Yeats.
Bro, our viewers don't read lame-ass poetry books. Give us the Thug Notes version.
Okay, well, sailing to Byzantium is about a lot of things, but one obvious theme would be the ravages wrought by Father Time as one grows old and disconnected from a culture that is rapidly devaluing its older citizens.
Older citizens? Barry, you're telling on yourself.
Well, no. See, I was never valued by our culture in the first place. Anyway, the poem's aged speaker describes himself as a tattered coat upon a stick, and this line may have provided partial inspiration for another Cormac McCarthy work that was adapted for the screen, The Sunset Limited. The HBO film version of Sunset Limited also features a pouty-faced Tommy Lee Jones, this time as an aging humanities professor who has lost his faith in the arts and decided to punch his own train ticket, so to speak. The professor describes the human subject as a thing dangling in senseless articulation in a howling void.
Goddamn, that's some angsty teenager shit right there. But those lines aren't all that similar, Barry.
Well, they both offer a humbling and frightening figuration of the human specimen, and the line from Sunset Limited could easily be used to illuminate a character who struggles fruitlessly against an abstract and indifferent force of destruction.
What, you're saying Anton Bell is the dangling thing and Anton Chigurh is the howling void?
Hey, it's not the worst take on the block. Ed Tom is a character who runs the risk of enacting a particularly dangerous brand of nostalgic thinking. He begins to suspect that human depravity has reached some kind of unprecedented zenith in 1980, the year of our Lord. In the novel version of No Country, Sheriff Bell tells Torbert, "I used to say these criminals were the same ones we've always had to deal with, but I don't know as that's true no more. I ain't sure we've seen these people before." Bell also yearns for the good old days when Texas lawmen didn't even have to carry a gun.
Some of the old-time sheriffs never even wore a gun.
Bro, I've been to Texas, and that doesn't sound very Texas. But what's so bad about Bell admiring the good old days?
Nothing, except that the backward gaze is rarely accurate. No Country for Old Men takes place in 1980, but McCarthy wrote another epic western, and that one's set about a century earlier. Anyone who has read Blood Meridian may come to discover that there's little chance that McCarthy himself would actually end up siding with a rather quaint and insulated character like Ed Tom. Blood Meridian offers a particularly raw and brutal encapsulation of Western expansionism as powered by such heinous delusions as the Manifest Destiny. Throughout the novel, John Glenton and his gang of psychopathic raiders pillage most of Sonora, slaying, partaking in, let's say, non-consensual sexual relations, scalping, and accruing a veritable fortune in the process. Maybe Ed Tom's white-bread grandpappy never carried a gun, but these bloodthirsty motherfuckers carried a goddamn armory. Just listen to this passage. The explosion filled all that sad little park. Some of the horses shied and stepped. A fist-sized hole erupted out of the far side of the woman's...
Whoa, goddamn. That'll do, Barry. I'm already gonna have nightmares about Javier Bardem's haircut, so rein it in already.
Anyway, it's technically possible that McCarthy the writer actually identifies with a character like Belle, but it's highly unlikely.
But I think once you quit hearing sir and ma'am, the rest is soon to follow.
The greater canon of McCarthy's writing directly opposes Belle's rather nostalgic claims about the supposed loss of good, clean American values. According to McCarthy's fiction, brutality and violence simply change format and sublimate over time. In Blood Meridian, Glenton's gang murders and pillages in order to accrue wealth in the form of gold and silver. In No Country, we've got rival gangs and corporations seeking the same fundamental goal. The only difference is that Glanton and his raiders redeem human scalps, while the characters in No Country are trying to redeem that sweet, sweet, brown Mexican heroin that poor old Uncle Barry can't afford.
Oh, God. See, he's doing it, Ellis, just like I told you.
Well, Jesus butt-chugging Christ. I'm so sorry that I spoke freely for 10 seconds. I guess it's time to hear from the goddamn peanut gallery.
Yeah, you're gonna do that annoying shit where you spend the whole episode telling us how much better the book is, aren't you? We review movies on this channel, Barry. We don't review bound, printed, non-streaming media artifacts.
Yeah, that's a nice Steingart reference, smartass. Anyway, I wasn't gonna do that. McCarthy is pretty great, but this is one of those rare cases where the film arguably outperforms the book.
Seriously? You know the book nerds are gonna come after your bankrupt ass. Now when are you gonna open that goddamn briefcase? Maybe it's full of money. You don't know.
Forget it, Fly. I'm in the zone and I will not be distracted. Now listen, folks. Our opinion is that virtually everything that Joel and Ethan Coen decided to cut from the filmic version was a reasonable decision. We don't really need to know, for instance, that Sheriff Ed Tom is a Vietnam veteran who once abandoned his platoon. His story still works without that threat. Likewise, we don't need a bunch of clumsy philosophical dialogue from Anton Chigurh. The film wisely trims out any elements that are purely excessive. In the novel's version of the story, it becomes pretty clear that Sheriff Bell has seen plenty of violence.
You telling me he shot this boy in the head and then went digging around in there with a pocket knife?
Only maybe he has softened a bit in his advanced age.
Oh, sir, I don't want to picture that.
I don't either.
Yeah, that's enough about Bell. Talk about the guy from Ghoulies.
Goonies, asswipe. Josh Brolin was in Goonies.
Listen, my brain's the size of a poppy seed and it still works better than yours most of the time, so f*** off.
Next, we got our old pal Thanos playing Brazier extraordinaire Llewelyn Moss.
You hold still.
Now, listen, folks. If you're into civilized and intelligent movie breakdowns that dole out high-resolution details about the etymology of each character's name, we'd ask that you check out some of the more reputable YouTube channels out there. This guy's got a pretty big brain, for instance. Anyway, for our purposes, Moss serves as a kind of everyman character who helps us identify the novel's skeptical stance on the notion of free will. We will, in time, illustrate that No Country's Anton Chigurh contains echoes of Judge Holden from Blood Meridian, and much like Chigurh, the judge isn't too bullish on the idea that ordinary people possess a whole lot of agency over their own lives. As the judge tells the kid in Blood Meridian, any man who could discover his own fate and elect therefore some opposite course could only come at last to that selfsame reckoning at that same appointed time. For each man's destiny is as large as the world he inhabits, and contains within it all opposites as well.
The f*** is that supposed to mean?
Well, it means a lot of things, but one of the things it means is that according to the judge, we don't really have the ability to shape our own fates. Just consider Llewelyn Moss as he stumbles upon the botched drug deal down on the floodplain. Intersecting trails of blood lead Moss to a view of the shootout's aftermath. and though he can't be sure what's coming down the pike, you can tell that he's already wary, as if he's struck by the imprimatur of his impending doom, yet remains powerless to change course.
Baby, things happen. I can't take him back.
Likewise, as other YouTubers have pointed out, when Moss finally happens upon the briefcase that contains the 2-point-whatever million dollars, his response is not jubilation, but something closer to surrender.
Yeah.
It's almost as if Moss, much like the character of the kid from Blood Meridian, is spectator to his own actions, powerless to divert himself from what he knows, at least on an unconscious level, will be a path to ruin. In Blood Meridian, Judge Holden tells the kid, "You were a witness against yourself." It's not difficult to imagine such a line issuing from the mouth of Chigurh, in reference to both Llewelyn and Sheriff Bell.
Oh god, now you're back on that free will shtick. Barry, do you think maybe you've been watching too many of those Robert Sapolsky videos?
Instead of saying there's far less free will than we normally think of, my stance is there's no free will whatsoever.
Well, probably, but the guy makes a pretty convincing argument, does he not? You know, I've noticed that these fat cats who can afford to have running water in their apartments cling to notions of free will because it's a tool for justifying why they've succeeded while so many berry-shaped others have failed. The free will theory dovetails perfectly with the old Horatio Alger bootstrap myth. Sapolsky's right. Free will is a human delusion.
You can't have, like, the rules of the universe and how they have come about to construct our brains and a belief in free will. You can't have both together.
Yeah, well, those fat cats with their running water would probably say that you're playing the exact same game, justifying your abject failure of a life by claiming you never really had a choice in the first place.
I acknowledge the insult.
Bullshit. Why aren't you yelling and calling me an asswipe?
Yeah, because you didn't really have a choice. You had to insult me in order to buoy yourself up over your own self-loathing and your own insecurities about being a smarmy, six-legged pest with an annoying voice and a microscopic brain. Asswipe. By the way, it's surprising to us how some of those other big league YouTube channels shit the bed when it comes to explaining basic plot details.
Moss shoots a deer, but a black dog comes out of nowhere and steals the wounded animal for himself.
Jesus. Did this bald nerd even bother to watch the movie? I think it's pretty obvious that the dog got wounded when the drug deal went sour.
Yeah, well, this channel's only outperforming us by a little over 3 million subscribers, so no biggie. By the way, Wisecrack was a hell of a lot better back when they had the Jared guy.
Okay, let's tell them about Chigurh. And then you will cave and you will open that briefcase. Because you have no free will, you cream-filled bitch. Javier Bardem's Anton Chigurh works as a kind of mythical manifestation of chaos and change and uncertainty that would drive a character like Sheriff Ed Tom to despair.
And it goes without saying that Bardem's performance is nothing short of brilliant. This man is absolutely terrifying, and he's selling it hard for every second of screen time.
Yeah, apparently he paid a pretty hefty price for going around town with that stupid haircut.
Javier, at one point, I've told this story before, but Javier got his haircut, and then we went to the Cowgirl Cafe. He looked at me and he goes, "I'm not going to be late for 3 months."
Yeah, but in order to understand McCarthy's villain and his nightmarish haircut, we have to first understand the megalomaniacal characters of Herman Melville, who is clearly one of McCarthy's primary influences.
You've actually got a lot in common with Melville, Barry.
You saying my literary prowess is underappreciated?
No, I mean he died sad and penniless, and that's exactly what's gonna happen to you.
Asswipe. If you ever had to read Moby Dick in college, you might recall the character Captain Ahab and his unhealthy obsession with taking vengeance against a certain white whale. Ahab situates himself outside the bounds of both the human fabric and the natural world itself, and imagines himself as a kind of deity, as reflected in some of his highly memorable lines like the following. "Talk not to me of blasphemy, man. I'd strike the sun if it insulted me."
F***ing nerd.
Brr, it's not nerdy, it's cool. Chigurh is a character who deals in absolutes, and like the judge from Blood Meridian, he seems to view the lives of his fellow men as a set of predetermined eventualities. In Blood Meridian, while suffering a fever dream visitation from the judge, the otherwise illiterate kid sees his own name, which nowhere else he could have ciphered out at all, logged into the records as a thing already accomplished. In other words, from the judge's perspective, the narrative that constitutes the kid's life has already concluded, even in the present. And only from his unique vantage point outside the traditional existential laws that define human existence is the judge able to divine the lesser destinies of his fellow characters. We get a somewhat analogous perspective from Anton Chigurh. Just take the phone call, for instance, that takes place late in the film, where Chigurh offers Moss an opportunity to spare the life of Carla Jean, wife of Moss, and Walmart Greeter of the Month.
You know how this is gonna turn out, don't you?
In a similar vein, consider the chilling conversation between Chigurh and hitman for hire Carson Wells, during which Chigurh expresses disinterest in the current location of the $2 million, because he claims to know the money's ultimate destination.
I know where it is.
I know something better. I know what it's going to be.
Now, that's not to say that there is no room for uncertainty from Chigurh's perspective. If you're watching this video, you probably already know about Chigurh's habit of allowing certain victims to bet their lives on a coin toss. Maybe that's evidence that even for Chigurh, more complex outcomes can't be predicted with much accuracy. Maybe he can only anticipate the most fundamental outcomes. In the film's most iconic scene, we also learn that Chigurh has no patience for annoying stop-and-chatters who make small talk while saying nothing of substance.
I seen you was from Dallas.
What business is it of yours where I'm from, friendo?
Yeah, well, there's also the fact that his preferred method of execution is a captive bolt stunner, a device used in the process of slaughtering cattle. But the symbolic link between mindless cattle and mindless human cattle is pretty obvious, and all those other YouTubers have already covered it.
What do you expect? To borrow from the great Al Swearingen, we're always sucking hind tit when it comes to analysis. Anyway, it's pretty clear that from Chigurh's perspective, people be trifling, and it's a rare occurrence indeed for someone to say anything of value. At one point, Chigurh returns to the site of the botched drug deal from which Moss stole the money, accompanied by 2 Jason Aldean fans.
That's a dead dog.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I know this is a subtle moment, but it's pretty clear that he disdains common human beings and their great gaping, flapping oral mouths.
Yeah, nice David Foster Wallace reference, Barry. It's just funny because you definitely don't look like you've ever read a book. You look like you're more likely to light them on fire, maybe smother them in ketchup.
Yeah, how about you smothered these nuts?
Look, I'm agreeing with you. Our boy Chigurh will not abide meaningless small talk.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
Yo, what the hell, Ellis? Why'd you stop it? Play the entire scene, you fickle prick.
No, Ellis is right. We're playing it safe because the copyright lords are a bunch of capricious asswipes who don't believe in the concept of fair use. There's a reason our Goonies retrospective took so goddamn long to release. We'll never be able to monetize some of these videos, and I don't even want to get into how many stinking days we wasted trying to negotiate YouTube's monkey litigation system.
Okay, well, I don't think the Coen brothers would care if we dramatized this scene. Fire it up, Ellis.
What the hell is this? Look at your haircut. You look like the president of Insect 4chan.
Shut the hell up, Barry. You look like Carl from Sling Blade. Now say your goddamn line. Do it.
Ugh. Y'all getting any rain up your way?
In what way would that be?
I seen you was a dirty little pest who probably lives near the city dump.
What business is it of yours where I'm from, friendo?
I didn't mean nothing by it. Just passing the time. If you don't want to accept that, I don't know what else I can do for you, asswipe. Will there be something else?
I don't know. Will there?
Is something wrong?
With what?
With anything.
Is that what you're asking me? Is there something wrong with anything? How about the fact that our subscriber count is weaker than your bladder?
Yeah, smartass. Will there be anything else?
You already asked me that. And I'm pretty sure you've been drinking nacho cheese from a coffee mug, haven't you?
Well, I need to see about closing now.
What time do you close?
Now? We close now.
Now is not a time, round boy. What time do you close?
Generally around dark. At dark. I try to hit up the liquor store before the college kids show up. You know, they like to rough me up.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
Sir?
What time do you go to bed?
Sir?
You're a bit overweight, aren't you? I said, what time do you go to bed?
Around 2 or 3 a.m., I'd say around 3. Depends on how many hours I spend watching I mean, why not pour yourself a nice cold Dr. Thunder from the soda fountain? Am I right, friendo?
What's the most you ever lost on OnlyFans?
Sure?
The most you ever lost on OnlyFans?
I don't know. I couldn't say.
Call it. Call the price of a monthly subscription to Roseanne Barr's OnlyFans.
For what?
Just call it. I can't call it for you. Wouldn't be fair.
Well, I didn't put nothing up.
Yes, you did. You've been putting it up your whole life. You just didn't know it.
Well, look, I need to know what I stand to win.
Everything. You stand to win everything. The shitty apartment, the negative balance in your bank account, the computer that never works, and the toilet that you have to flush with a bucket of water. Call it. Call the price of Roseanne Barr's OnlyFans.
All right. She's a sturdy woman. I'm gonna guess it's $3.95 a month. I'm gonna guess that if you pay with crypto, there's a 5% discount and you get a coupon for Black Rifle coffee.
God damn it. You f***ing cheated and I know it.
I got it right, asshole. Oh, yes. Good old Barry gets to keep his wretched life.
Lucky guess, you broke bitch. You never won anything in your worthless life, Barry, so don't get cocky.
Well, I think it's time for you to acknowledge that
Ad break.
Time to get paid! Well, folks, today's episode is sponsored by our good friends at Poorhaus Industries. Now listen, it's no secret that if you're watching Bankrupt Barry, there's a 93% chance that you will never be able to purchase your own house. Hell, we've seen the analytics. Most of you can't even afford to smash that like button. Well, friends, Uncle Barry's here to share some news for all you discarded and ungainfully employed losers. For the low price of $29.99, you can finally put down a grub stake and purchase your own goddamn slice of freedom. It's the Poorhaus private inflatable floating domicile. Forget paying rent on them busted-ass apartment complexes. You don't need the hassle of fighting for a parking spot and dealing with the noise of those inconsiderate asswipes next door.
Well, I mean, that's what we do.
Yeah, and it's a shit life. Last week I tried to stick my head in our oven, but it wouldn't fit. Anyway, Poorhaus's inflatable domicile can be all yours. Want to float to the Florida Keys? No problem. Want to try your luck in the Atlantic? Have at it, baby. You're a landowner. And if you've got some extra change, hell, buy 2 islands and chain them together. We don't care.
You know, I don't think that's right. I mean, just because you have a pool float doesn't mean...
Maritime law, baby. Maritime law.
What does that mean, Barry? Just shouting maritime law doesn't actually tell me anything.
Nobody owns the ocean. Your new apartment could be all of Lake Michigan if you want. It's yours. Occupy the ocean, motherfuckers.
Okay, there you go, folks. Airtight legal advice from a guy named Bankrupt Barry. Yo, Barry, don't they make any bigger islands?
Yeah, you bet your ass they do, Fly, and they're actually pretty sweet. But our bottom-feeding viewers can't afford the good stuff, so never mind.
The promo code is Jeff Buckley. Yeesh.
Game on! Now, back to Cormac McCarthy's Cowboy Hoedown. We've already established that the highly antisocial Anton Chigurh functions as an agent of chaos, who holds in contempt those lesser mortals who traffic in lame-ass moral frameworks. Take, for instance, the moment in the hotel where Chigurh murders innocent day trader and hitman for hire Carson Wales, played by Woody Harrelson. Here, Chigurh tries to illustrate that Wales's foolhardy choices have only served to bring about his own ruin.
If the rule you followed brought you to this, of what use was the rule?
What rule does he mean? Mental sanity?
Possibly. Or maybe he simply means the rule of viewing life as a linear progression rather than something that's already been determined. And we're not going to beat a dead horse, but it might be worth noting that in McCarthy's novel, there's a scene in which Chigurh shows up to the office of the big corporate goon who puppeteered the botched goat fuck of a drug deal out in the desert. And apparently he's come for the purpose of establishing his so-called bona fides, kissing the corpo guy's ass and assuring him that he, Chigurh, could serve as a valuable little mutt.
Yeah, you're right. You got a face like a rhino's nutsack, but you're right. I prefer the Coen version. Chigurh works best as a lone wolf. I don't like the idea of him licking the corporate boot.
It bears repeating that we think it's wise of the Coens to cut this kind of stuff from the movie. We enjoyed the film's more open-ended stance, and we also don't care for those moments in the novel when Chigurh spams us with pseudo-philosophical sound bites.
Yes, it actually works better when he says less. Now, Barry, are you aware that there's a whole genre of YouTube reviews out there that claim Anton Chigurh isn't real? That he's like Bruce Willis from that M. Night movie, or Tyler Durden from Fight Club.
And I started to wonder if some of these characters and situations that we see might only be happening in someone's mind. The movie's antagonist, Anton Chigurh, seems to walk around Texas like the fucking Terminator on it, and no one ever seems to notice him.
That's made me realize one thing. That is, that Chigurh isn't real.
Yeah, f*** me in the goiter. I think these kids have spent too much time watching gimmicky movies with stupid-ass twist endings. Look, I realize we're not in any position to throw shade at the more successful YouTube channels. These guys have got more subscribers than we'll ever have, and their analyses are highly creative. But this argument holds water about as well as Tommy Lee Jones's sphincter. Chigurh is an elusive character, but if you're going to argue that he's a hallucination within the mind of Sheriff Bell, or that he's the alter ego of Llewelyn Moss or something corny like that, you might as well just throw all elusive movie characters into question.
Hey, maybe the shark from Jaws isn't real. Maybe it's just a figment of Brody's imagination.
Ah, Christ. See, now you're doing it.
Hannibal Lecter isn't real, Barry. He's just a psychic manifestation of Clarice Starling's trauma from witnessing the death of her father. And Yoda is a hallucination within the mind of Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, this is a stupid f***ing approach to film criticism, but maybe we should try it. We'd probably get more views. Anyway, within the context of No Country, we think Chigurh actually does exist, and another scene deserving of scrutiny is Chigurh's confrontation with Carla Jean, Moss's widowed wife. Chigurh had originally promised to spare CJ's life if Moss surrendered the money, but since Chigurh plays by his own rules, he's still gonna kill CJ, even though the score has been settled. Moss has been gunned down by the cartel, and Chigurh is in possession of the money, since he was able to deduce Moss's tactic of hiding the briefcase in the AC vents of various motels.
Yeah, but Carla Jean's a f***ing gangster. She shuts down Chigurh's whole philosophical bullshit circus.
Well, that's right. Chigurh tries to front his whole coin flip racket, but she ain't playing.
No. I ain't gonna call it.
Oh, go,
yes.
do it,
You
yeah,
go,
fuck
Carla
that coin
Jean.
shit.
The coin don't have no say. It's just you.
Now pay attention, shit-asses. This is important. Carla Jean is the first character to successfully call out Chigurh on his flawed conceit. By claiming the coin is what carries true agency, he has been disavowing his own destructive actions. Carla Jean has just sunk his proverbial battleship by illustrating that it's Chigurh himself who attaches such dire consequences to the manner in which the coin lands.
Yeah, but Barry, you're contradicting yourself. I thought you said nobody actually has free will.
Well, I think Chigurh and the judge might be exceptions to the rule. Besides, do you know how hard it is to do a film review if no one has free will? It's pretty much impossible.
So, the coin don't have no say?
The coin don't have no say. But in true Anton fashion, he maintains his delusional claims of non-agency.
I got here the same way the coin did.
But if Chigurh can see people's destinies before they unfold, how do you explain him getting T-boned while leaving Carla Jean's place?
Again, the messaging isn't entirely consistent. Perhaps Chigurh is distracted because one of the characters finally called him out on his sophistry. In any case, he seems to have a kind of foresight of eventualities and probabilities, but it's imperfect. And as some of the more intelligent YouTubers have pointed out, this scene speaks to Chigurh's ability to adapt to wildly chaotic circumstances. Chigurh improvises a makeshift sling, and the film is constantly showing us that in the land of America, it doesn't really matter if your body gets fucked up in violent and horrific fashion. So long as you have a wad of sweaty, blood-soaked money to press into someone's palm, you can survive.
Por favor.
Hell, mister.
Yo, what's happening to Tommy Lee Jones at this point?
He probably fell asleep picking blackberries or something. But we finally get a pivotal scene in which Sheriff Bell is lovingly upbraided by his uncle Ellis. Unlike the Ellis who works for this channel, the movie's Ellis is actually worth listening to. When Bell complains that he feels overmatched by what seems to be a new and unruly class of thugs and drug runners, Ellis recounts a story in which his uncle was gunned down unceremoniously on his front porch back in 1909. It's also worth noting that Ellis himself is confined to a wheelchair due to an unknown altercation during which he was shot.
So Ellis is pretty much busting Belle's rose-tinted balls wide open by showing that the West has always been fertile grounds for violence.
This country's hard on people.
Not bad, asswipe. Yes, Ellis offers a pretty good reality check for good old Grandpa Bell.
It ain't all waiting on you. That's vanity.
Take that, nostalgic thinking.
Okay. Well, you look like sort of a fatter, dumber version of Sigmund f***ing Freud, so maybe you can unpack the two dreams Bell has about his father at the end of the movie.
It was about meeting him in town somewhere and he gave me some money. I think I lost it.
Well, that first one means bupkis. Little kids always lose money. It's what they do. My daddy never gave me money, but if he had, I'm sure I would have lost it.
Okay, it seems like a pretty weak dick analysis, but let's move on.
He's fixing to make a fire somewhere out there and all that dark and all that cold.
Yeah, this one's more interesting. For starters, the father's task of carrying fire inside a horn links him to another McCarthy story, The Road, in which father and son roam a post-apocalyptic American landscape in the futile hope of finding habitable land. They're metaphorically carrying the fire because they still believe they possess a moral compass. Or maybe carrying the fire means carrying delusions about their own chances of survival. In any case, the dream of the father illustrates Bell's nostalgic conviction that his father hailed from some kind of gilded and enlightened cultural age that provides a guiding light for the latter generations.
Ah, so it's a beacon on the hill sort of thing. So the father's moving ahead to build a fire in the dark void of uncivilization. Is this supposed to be a reassuring ending, or are we supposed to see Sheriff Bell as quaint and idealistic?
Motherfucker, this is a collaboration between one of the bleakest writers of all time and two of the bleakest filmmakers. What do you think?
Well, I feel kind of divided on the ending. We're set up to expect some kind of final showdown between Moss and Chigurh, but Moss gets cleaned out by the cartel instead. Then we're set up to expect a showdown between Sheriff Bell and Chigurh, but that doesn't happen either.
Yeah, well, it's not your standard Western. Classic Westerns unfold like morality plays, and they usually involve the vanquishing of a tyrant or overlord, just like we saw in our review of The Quick and the Dead. Standard Westerns appeal to us because the bad guys and the good guys are clearly defined, and the villain always gets his just desserts. We get to enjoy a delightful little dopamine burst of self-righteousness and reassurance. But that cheap satisfaction isn't something that interests the likes of McCarthy or the Coens. In No Country for Old Men, Sheriff Bell ultimately shies away from a final confrontation with Chigurh. To quote from Bell himself, this man has reached a point where he's no longer willing to put his soul at hazard. Meanwhile, what we don't get is a stock CSI-style ending where the unlawful Anton Chigurh gets arrested, the corruption is rectified, and all of West Texas can now breathe easily. The film leaves us with the impression that Chigurh is still out there, uncontained, a mythical and elusive force of destruction that can't be reasoned with.
Bro, I feel like we've spent too much time focusing on books and main characters. I think one of the big successes here is that the Coen brothers are so brilliant at casting people who seem like slice-of-life 1980s Texans.
Yes, Fly, that line doesn't sound scripted at all.
You let people come in here without any clothes on?
No, sir. It's unusual. You pick the option goes with the applicable rate.
I think my favorite of the bunch is this plus-size Karen who works as the manager of Moss's trailer park.
Did you not hear me? We can't give out no information.
Yes! Holy goats, I love this lady. And get a load of that bun.
Yeah, this brassy old bitch really rocks my hammock. The film's final showdown should have been Anton Chigurh versus manager Karen. And we were all saddened to learn that the actress, Kathy Lampkin, passed away back in 2022. We miss you, Kathy.
And I think it goes without saying that this movie's cinematography is just brilliant. Yo, Barry, are they ever gonna make a film version of Blood Meridian?
Oh, God, no. It's a story that's utterly unfilmable. That lowlife James Franco was still gonna try, but Me Too took care of that. I tell you what, Fly, I've never been more grateful for the Me Too movement.
Yeah, but what about this guy?
Yeah, God damn it. Why can't these dipshits just leave the books alone? This is gonna be just like John Hillcoat's dog shit version of The Road, or Franco's moronic adaptation of Child of God.
And what about that movie from 2013, The Counselor? Didn't Cormac McCarthy write that trash?
Look, we're just gonna pretend that one never happened. Now, what's in the briefcase, Fly? Is it money?
Well, dude, we don't know. Ellis thinks one of our subscribers must have sent it.
Well, maybe it contains the phone number of a hot lady. Brr, look, there's something in there.
Barry, I think that's some kind of portal.
Way off base, Fly. I've seen these on Temu. This here is an AI-powered ring light for content creators, designed with the express purpose of... Brrr! What the hell? Am I back in No Country for Old Men? This better not be some kind of low-budget horror movie, because it looks like something Ellis would pick for us to review. Oh, I get it. I'm in that Nope movie. Well, at least it's not Weekend at Bernie's. I guess now I'll be abducted and the aliens will probe me or something humiliating like that. Hey, what the hell? So what then? I'm in a different Coen Brothers movie? Maybe Raising Arizona? Maybe sweet Lucifer's Grundle. This place absolutely reeks of Kevin Bacon. Oh, wait, there he is, over by them rocks. Hey, Sean Noakes, what the hell are you doing over there? You got a golf cart or something? Because I'm done walking on this scorching-ass sand. Oh, so that's how we're playing it, huh? All right, bring it on, asswipes. I don't even care at this point. I've already died so many times. And I'm not trying to use reverse psychology either. No, I want to die. As a matter of fact, not the gooch, not the... And that's why, contrary to popular belief, I was not banned from the petting zoo. I was suspended. A few more hours of community service and all will be forgiven.
You should admit your situation. There would be more dignity in it.
Admit to my situation? I guess that Prince Valiant haircut is cutting off circulation to your brain. I run a channel called Bankrupt Barry. What more of an admission do you want?
All right.
Do I seriously look like the kind of fellow who's carrying around $2 million? I mean, come on. I can't even afford to take a shower. Are you getting a whiff of that Barry funk? I know you are, because whenever you talk, all I hear is crazy.
You mean the nature of this conversation?
I mean the nature of your stupid-ass haircut. Brother, you look like Spain's non-union answer to Charles Bronson. And it's not just the haircut either. I'd also like to take a moment to critique your wardrobe, because...